Do you guys remember that story from Isaiah where the Assyrian army was marching to Jerusalem and God said that I will not let them enter Jerusalem, and he sent an angel, came down and killed the entire army?
Hey, Jordan here for Bible and Archaeology. We're back with another response. This time, this video got sent in to us talking about Sennacherib's siege of Jerusalem. We're going to walk through what this creator says the archaeology is reporting, make some corrections, and point to some other evidence that I think they and you would be interested in if you are looking for material evidence that can speak to this event. So first off, for context, yes, this story does come to us from the book of Isaiah, but we also have a version of this story in 2 Kings and in 2 Chronicles. It's something that gets recorded in multiple places, each version with a slightly different take on events, but the underlying story is the same. King Hezekiah rebels against the Assyrians. He stops paying tribute, something that Sennacherib does not take too kindly to, and so comes in campaigns in Judah, attacking a number of fortified cities, laying siege to them before turning his interest to Jerusalem. Now, once the interest is turned to Jerusalem, he demands tribute. According to the biblical text, Hezekiah pays that tribute, and then the angel of the Lord comes in, kills 185,000 soldiers in the Assyrian camp, and the Assyrians leaving Jerusalem unbesieged. Okay, so that's the biblical version of events. A rebellion, a campaign, a tribute, a divine intervention, and then the Assyrians leaving. We're going to come to the Assyrian version of events in a little bit. For right now, though, let's set up what is it that is supposed to be happening within the biblical record, and then let's see what else this creator has to say about the archaeology here.
But they had apparently just found proof of that battle.
No way.
Yeah.
No way?
This archaeologist, he was like digging and found this old ancient Assyrian coin looking thing. Mm-hmm. And basically what it was, if I understand it right, it was a layout for an army and like what mountain peaks that they're at and stuff. And he's like, oh, this matches what I've seen in this one region, but no one had explored or dug or lived in this region for thousands of years. And so he went there and did pictures and stuff. And sure enough, it matched up exactly where this battle would have taken place.
That's insane, dude.
And I think they're still continuing to dig and like find stuff of like the Assyrian soldiers and whatnot.
So it does sound insane, and your response should be no way, because this is not true. To be frank, he's not understanding it correctly. It's not proof of a battle, first off, because as he says, according to the biblical record, there's divine intervention that stops a battle from ever taking place at Jerusalem. According to that text, 185,000 soldiers die outside of a battle, and then the Assyrians leave. According to the Assyrian records, which we will come to, they describe besieging Jerusalem, but don't talk about an attack on it itself, but that they come, they lay siege, they take tribute, and they leave. So there isn't proof of a battle to be found at Jerusalem, because the records from both sides don't describe a battle taking place at Jerusalem. So that's the first little bit of misunderstanding to clear up. The second is a misunderstanding regarding the journal article that this story is coming from, because they are, if we put it frankly, wildly misrepresenting the journal article itself. The article is The Trail of Sennacherib's Siege Campaigns. It was published in the Journal of Near Eastern Archaeology, and it was written by Stephen Compton. What Stephen did is look at the Assyrian wall reliefs from Sennacherib's palace, not a coin, the wall reliefs, to say, can we identify where the camps depicted in the wall reliefs might be, using those reliefs and aerial photographs of the region. Not a coin, no excavation. So there was nothing new that was found. The wall reliefs have been known for a long time. The photos themselves are also not new. So Stephen looked at the photos, looked at the topography of the region, the mountains, the areas around, to try to identify areas next to cities like Lachish and Jerusalem that might be fits for the oval style of camp depicted in the Assyrian reliefs. And they think they may have identified possible sites, one near Lachish and one near Jerusalem, that are getting the most attention. Scholars' response to this is split. Not everyone is on board with the identifications, and even between the two, there is a split whether both of them hold the same amount of weight. More scholars are potentially interested in the Lachish identification as having some substance behind it because field surveys have identified pottery dating to the period of Sennacherib's campaigns in the area around that one. Near the Jerusalem proposed camp, less has been identified there. So they're not finding anything new here. There's no new discovery, no new coin that's leading to this, but a reinterpretation and a new analysis of old materials, which is always a good thing to do. If we can go back to old finds and see if we can draw new things from them, that's great. The next thing to look at is this claim that no one explored, dig, or lived in these regions for thousands of years, and he goes there to take these pictures. So as I said, that's not how this happened. There was an archaeological survey at the area where he's identifying this Lachish camp, and that is where they found the pottery that dates to the period of Sennacherib's campaign. So this surface level survey had been done there. There are excavations at Lachish that have found evidence of Sennacherib's campaign against Lachish. Arrowheads, siege ramps, sling stones, the types of things you would expect from an army attacking this city. That archaeological record exists. And so that's the reason why some people look and say there may be more corroboration for that potential site, but not a new excavation there. Similarly, not a new excavation near the camp near Jerusalem. No digging has happened there. That camp, the camp near Jerusalem that's possibly being identified, is one that has been known since the 1800s, but has previously been identified as a possible Roman camp, maybe connected to Titus's campaigns. But similarly, excavations have not happened there. This hill where the camp is located is called Ammunition Hill. And in the 1930s, the British turned it into an ammunition storage site. The Jordanians then built trenches on it, and in 1967, it was the site of a bloody and fierce battle, and now is the site of a museum and memorial. So it's not an area that has seen no contact for thousands of years. There has been much that has taken place at this site. So there's another thing there to say that's a misrepresentation of our understanding of these sites and the archaeology that has happened around these sites. Next is that they still continue to dig. A problem being they never started digging at either of these sites. He did no excavations to make these hypothesis identifications. He looked at the wall reliefs. He looked at the photos. He looked at what we know from past surveys to say these might be areas. They would need excavation in order to prove that hypothesis. So there was no excavation that has taken place there in this article. So there's no digging to be done going forward from this. So a number of things there that are wrong. Interestingly, though, they leave out the real archaeological evidence that does exist for Sennacherib's campaigns against Judah and Lachish. This is something that we have known about for a long time, like the 1830s long, when we found the wall reliefs in Sennacherib's palace. These reliefs that show us his campaign against Lachish, that describe, that depict what we see in the Assyrian record, that corroborates what we see in the biblical record. This is a major find to say what we're getting in this biblical text has some corroboration in the Assyrian accounts. Interestingly as well, in these reliefs, the Lachish panel reads, Sennacherib, king of the universe, king of Assyria, sits on a throne, and the spoils of Lachish are paraded before him. So the identification of Lachish is securely made in the panel itself, describing the campaign and the spoils being taken from it. We have another record that comes to us from Sennacherib's Annals, also known as Sennacherib's Prism, where he describes in greater detail his campaigns against Judah, the fortified cities that he attacks, the spoils that he takes, and this is where we get that line that he locked up King Hezekiah in his royal city like a caged bird, providing corroboration for what we see in the Bible when Hezekiah is locked up in Jerusalem and then pays tribute for the king of Assyria to leave. Sennacherib's account similarly echoes that he lays siege to Jerusalem, locks Hezekiah up in it, takes tribute, and then leaves. What Sennacherib leaves out is any divine intervention. So were there 185,000 soldiers that died? Sennacherib does not tell us anything about that. So was there real divine intervention or not? There's nothing that can speak to that. But we do have materials that speak to the real existence of Sennacherib, of Hezekiah, and of Sennacherib's campaigns in the region and against Jerusalem. So this is an event, a moment that we have textual and archaeological evidence for. So it's an event that we don't need to turn to AI pictures, speculation, and misunderstanding of scholarly reports to create a story around. If you're looking for a moment in the Bible that has textual and archaeological evidence, this is a great one. So stay with the real materials and what we really have. If you have a video, a news story, a question, send them our way. We're always happy to see what you are coming across in your feeds and provide correction where we can. For all of us here at Bible and Archaeology, until next time.